Today, we're talking Caddo Lake, the HBO Max exclusive movie produced by our boy M. Night, one of the masters of modern horror. This movie, no one saw coming. No one was anticipating this movie. Upon watching this film that dropped on October 10th, we have four shining stars that burst out of this flick. The filmmakers and performers. So let's talk about Caddo Lake and why I love it.
Quiet on the set.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
Action!
Wild confession, AKAPADers. I disliked this movie first time I saw it as I was watching it. Even though I loved the look of this movie, I loved the writing, absolutely fell in love with the direction. You could see the story like laid out on index cards where it was just mapped out. All of these things, right? Like all of these things are unexpected, bright, and perfect in this movie. It's ballsy. This movie's taking a big chance. This movie's showing us a side of the world, a side of America that a lot of people aren't aware of. This is why we loved Mud, if you guys remember the Mud conversation. But then, we're going to spoil it. It's a time travel movie. And I have a problem. I have an absolute problem with time travel movies. It's hard for me to want to understand what's going on because of time loops, of time paradoxes, of things that eventually just make no sense. But this movie does something. This movie has a moment where we realize that a girl that they're looking for, right? Like this whole movie starts as a missing person. And we learn that the little girl goes back in time and someone pursues her. He's able to figure out how the time shifting works, we'll just say. That's her boy, Dylan O'Brien. But Dylan himself slips and gets lost in time. But he gives the girl up in the 1930s. And we see this, like we see the construction of the dame, like like we see like the birth of this town through this one time slip. But he gives the girl away because the girl's injured. She needs help, but they're in the 30s. They're in the wrong time. And then later we get this amazing revelation that the girl lived a fruitful life. She grew up, she got married, had children, somewhat of a pillar in the community. I mean, I never quite seen anything like this in a time travel movie before. It's there, it's original. It pulls your heartstrings. And then all of this, right? Like these are some of the things that have to come to light to other characters at the end of this movie. In this movie split, we have two separate plots, two separate characters that are intertwined, not intertwined, interacting, not interacting. What's her name? Eliza Shanin. This girl. Wow, she's only 25. This is our absolute superstar in this movie. Dylan O'Brien, we'll see him on the poster. Now, keep in mind, I was only drawn to this movie because I liked the thumbnail on HBO Max. I had no idea what this movie was. And hey, M. Night's name attached helps. Dylan O'Brien is a movie star. He's even a movie star so much to the fact that the camera likes this guy. The camera loves this guy. And this guy looks good on camera. So between Dylan and Eliza, I mean, we got 2 stars. And then we have our filmmakers. And guys, tell me if you don't love this name. Logan George. He's one of the great short filmmakers of today. Just look up his stuff. You'll be blown away. I want to say Caroline. I just remember him being attached to that. That came up on my feed a while ago. I had to like double check to make sure it was the same dude. And Celine Held. So that's it. We got 2 writers, directors, both deserving of more work. We have M. Night doing a job as a producer. We have the emergence of 2 stars. And then we have a time travel movie that convinces me that time travel can work in film outside of Terminator and Back to the Future and Donnie Darko. This movie's great. This movie's a thriller. This movie is heartfelt. This movie is about family and legacy. And there is a want and need from individuals that are growing up in this world, that are just fighting to have a voice. Yes, teenage angst, and teenage angst works so well in a lot of these types of movies. This is a movie that shows us a side of the world we're not totally familiar with. I am there. Check out Caddo Lake. We'll talk more about this later. I feel like I have to see this movie a few more times, but I just wanted to bring you guys something quick to catch this movie because it's relatively new and I don't think it's getting enough attention. I think people are spending their time bashing Megalopolis and Joker 2. The reviewers are focusing on that. Hell, they're even focusing more now on Venom 3. This is a real movie by real filmmakers that depict a real way of life. And because of that, it deserves our absolute attention. AKAPAD, the film buff, signing out, guys. Thanks for hanging out.
Okay, that's a wrap.